I'll call the Transportation Committee of March 21st, 2013 to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cross?
Here.
Commissioner Dersinski?
Here.
Commissioner Engel?
Here.
Commissioner Hughes?
Here.
Commissioner Mahoney?
Here.
Commissioner Nash?
Here.
Commissioner Sable?
Here.
Commissioner Skolnick?
Here.
Commissioner Wilkins?
Here. We have a quorum. What is your pleasure on the approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Support.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, the motion is carried. We'll move on to item number 4, informational items. What is your pleasure?
Move they be put on file.
Support.
Is there any discussion on either report?
I just had a question. Base day service. What does that mean, base?
Jim Coons, Muskegon Area Transit.
And I'm looking at the very first item.
The term base day, as it's showing up on here now, refers to the services that we were providing prior to May 3rd, 2010. That is the date when we added the evening service, and so we denoted the other as base.
Okay, thank you. So the daily service is dropping 5%. That could be a given month just due to how many days we had of bus service?
In this case, for the month of February compared to last year, yes, there was one less day of service, and that contributes greatly to that number.
Okay. Yeah, plus the stuff. Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, motion is carried. We'll move on to item number 5, public comment on an agenda item. Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to item number 6, items for consideration, TR 130308. Is there any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Skolnick?
No, I don't, I just wanted to, I don't know who did these, but the little barcade pieces with them, but they're good. So was this done by Revel or in-house or?
Bob Lukens, Community Development Director, yes, those were done by Revel Commission last year.
Are there any further questions? Thank you, Ms. Floyd. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, the motion is carried. We'll move on to TR 130310.
9.
Oh, excuse me, TR 130309.
So moved.
Support.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
I have just
Commissioner Skolnick?
a comment on that. You know, this is, it seems like this is, I think is a good idea. Someone's going to obviously have to write a job description for this.
Yes, we will do that, Commissioner. Between Jim Coons and I, we'll develop a job description for it. It is a part-time position, and we believe it really will help MATS to coordinate or more quickly respond to some of the service, any potential service changes that we may have or other information that we need to get out to the public. Right now, we usually go through a process with the current ad agency, creative agency that we're using that takes a bit of time to move things through. With a staff member, a part-time staff member, we will be able to move through collateral materials, map changes, things of that sort much more quickly. We'll be able to work with printers in publishing the collateral materials that we develop very quickly.
How many hours do you anticipate?
I believe it'll be 25.
You know, again, you're going to have to develop a job description, but I think you can find a spectacular person to do this if you're careful. I don't know who's gonna make will you and Jim make the ultimate decision?
I presume we'll probably call in some other people that are a bit more creative than us too.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't think you should just leave it up to the Human Resource Department. This is kind of a unique job for the county.
Right, and this person also, Jim and I have discussed some of the potential work that this person would do, and that they'd also be involved in web development for the MATS website too, to be able to get information out to the public much more quickly is the main objective of this.
If you can find the right person, this is going to be great. I'm sure they're out there.
We'll find some.
Probably a veteran.
No.
Commissioner Nash, did you have a question?
No, actually, I think this is good, and it's part-time. I just, when Commissioner Siski brought that up, it just made me think, because, you know, we had this discussion about veterans, and we're doing a lot of hiring in the county, and, you know, I was just thinking about the 3 departments, and again, I go back to what my predecessor used to ask is, you know, how many people of color do you have that are in supervisory or other positions? Because I noticed, I was even speaking with someone in one of the departments, and you know, that is a concern, even with some of the employees that are currently employed through us, is that they feel that there's a ceiling, and that is just entry level, and that's it. People of color are not allowed to go into supervisory or upper positions, and I think that it would greatly help the county in, you know, becoming more diverse with qualified people. No special favors for anyone, but trying to change the climate of the county and be a leader in that, and also, you know, making sure that we have diversity to make everyone feel a part of this community. But it could be some significant changes, and that includes from veterans and women and whatever else we do. But we've got a season of you know, feeling through a lot of current county employees that there's a ceiling for certain people in our community. I'm hoping that you all as directors and supervisors would, you know, definitely look hard at that and try to work hard to make some significant changes in those areas.
Mrs. Hughes?
I also have concern that Mr. Nash has, that we are creating new positions. But in this situation, we kind of went through the same thing out at the wastewater, where we had a group that was trying very hard to market the wastewater, and since they're not directly involved with it, they weren't quite as knowledgeable about it as they could have been. And having somebody that works with the MATS day in, day out, and sees the challenges that we have and the opportunity that we have, I think this is an excellent position to put on. Normally I wouldn't want to hire somebody, but I think this will really, really help the MATS system.
Well, I think it's mainly for the outreach too, you know. There has been kind of, we haven't done as much outreach as we could do. And I think it will help broaden our outreach and potentially open it up to some new riders for the system.
And we've gotten some new grants too that are going to open up some opportunities too, and this will fall right in with that.
And one more comment I'd just like to make is, can we find a way to track the impact of this marketing?
Yes, we can. We will develop that as we move forward, but I would imagine that it would mainly involve inquiries into the MATS system and the MATS switchboard and emails, and also an increase in ridership. Those will be the main things that we'll look at. And then if it does move into certain advertising opportunities, the reach, of course, and the response to that advertising.
I know we couldn't track it all by detail, but I'm just wondering how significant it would be as an impact in our ridership and revenues and all the transportation.
Another example, a very quick example, is if there are events that need to be publicized, we would be able to get them into MATS buses and MATS trolleys much more quickly in this scenario. You know, we have professionally done materials that we'd be able to get out very quickly.
Just,
Yes, Commissioner Stone.
are they going to be able to help with the trolley company?
Yes, they will.
And would this person, is one of the skills you're looking for, skills with graphic design? So that could be done, some of that could be done in-house?
Oh, yes, graphic design's the main skill we're looking for. Graphic design and web design.
Right.
Plus, we're also looking at photography and other marketing skills too.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. And in addition to what Commissioner Nash stated, I too have gotten a concern from a lot of the people in the public because we don't see the diversity in the county that we should be seeing, because it seems like a lot of the supervisory positions are not, you don't notice very much diversity. And I think that we need to make a special effort because this is an indicative of what this county represents. And I would hope, Ms. Administrator, that this would be something that we will be looking at in the future to make a change in, because it needs to be addressed. Thank you. Okay, any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Then the motion is carried. We'll move on to TR 130310.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions?
Yes. This talks about Norton Shores Police Department. Is there a reason why we don't use our own police services?
Good afternoon, Marty Piet, Airport Manager. Correct, we use Norton Shores Police Department now as our law enforcement officer at the airport. There's really no particular reason anybody that's not a law enforcement officer could provide the same service. Norton Shores has done it since 2001, since the 9/11 incident. And we have explored trying to do it with the Sheriff's Department and are actually going to continue pursuing to do that. This doesn't bind us with Norton Shores. What this does is binds us with TSA to actually receive the reimbursements.
Are there any other questions of Mr. Pierre? Okay, and in addition to that, I think that we've also talked about in the past of the Homeland Security there. And these individuals are chosen by the federal government. They too are not reflective of this community at all, because you never see any diversity there. In all the years that they have been there, I have never seen anyone of color or a different group. So I think that we're negotiating this contract, and I think that perhaps we need to act as a reminder to them, because sometimes people forget.
I do have.
Yes.
I do have one other comment. On the motion, I would like to see the $21,900 a year included in the motion, because it doesn't have any amount. I'd just like it to say up to or not to exceed $21,900. Can I make a friendly amendment to that motion?
I think so.
Make the motion.
Mr. Attorney, can we make a
Yeah,
friendly?
well, it's accepted by the motion maker.
I think it was Charles.
Oh, yes, I'm fine with that.
Yes, so we'll add that.
Chairman Wilkins, when you talked about that, when you talked about the length of the contract, you're talking about the contract that we have with Norton Shores, is that correct?
No, I'm talking about the contract with Homeland Security.
Okay.
Yes, there's no diversity in the employees that work for them that come into our area.
Oh, I see, I got you. When does our contract expire with Norton Shores?
That one is up now.
It's expired. It's basically on a month-to-month basis right now.
If I could make just one comment on that. One of the reasons, and I don't remember the original contract, but it may have been because Norton Shores is close.
It-
The
That
city
was,
can respond quickly.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I think
That's
it was
what
the
the
sheriff's
airport's
located, but it'll take a long time to get somebody there.
Well, they said that they had to be there within 20 minutes, is that correct? I think it was 20 minutes, that they were the closest. Commissioner Nash?
I noticed you said it doesn't bind us with the Norton Shores, but with the the funding contract with TSA bind us that way?
The funding contract is not either. That,
Okay,
nothing
so we can
binds us.
switch it
Whenever we can. yes.
Okay.
And,
Yes, Commissioner Sabol?
is there any way that we can speed up that process, or maybe even get more involved in that process as far as looking at the options of using Norton Shores as opposed to our own forces?
We, the sheriff and I have discussed it, and we will, it's really up to the sheriff to decide whether he can staff it. And that's something that he's aware of and has looked at. And so we're waiting on him to tell us if he can do it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Commissioner
I
Hughes?
think one reason that Commissioner Sable was so concerned about this is when we just got done at the MAC conference, a lot of our revenue funding is going to be required in interdepartmental cooperation. And with the sheriff and the airport, that would, again, give us some more cooperation internally. So that's one reason of concern there.
Might be cooperation, but if it costs us more money.
Oh, right, no, I agree.
She just put a limit on it, so.
Right, yeah, we're not gonna spend any more than $21,900 now.
Are there any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Beard. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Then the motion is carried. We'll move on to TR 130311. What is your pleasure?
Support.
Are there any yes.
My only concern about that is, do we think that maybe, it looks like there might be some issues with our tower. Is there possibly other issues that might affect the airport that we might want to hold off on this till we find out what the funding issues we're facing are?
The fire station issue, that's a capital project of the Airport Improvement Program, and it's actually something we've been looking at doing since 2010. We bought a new fire truck in 2010, which literally has 6 inches of clearance in the building. It doesn't fit the building. So we've finally gotten to a point where we're able to fund a rehabilitation project for the fire station. What's going on with the tower situation won't impact our available entitlement dollars for this project this year. So I don't see a connection, but
Okay,
I
okay.
think we're okay with that.
Thank you. One other thing I ask is, the contract with Prine and Newhoff, did we get any other bids? That's a $40,000 contract. We've got any other bids?
On this we didn't, because what we did is went through an RFQ process it's been about 2 or 3 years now, it's maybe not even that long ago, for an airport engineer. And the idea was to select an airport engineer based on qualifications. And we had several interested bidders, ended up going through the selection process and chose Prine Newhoff as
Okay.
our airport engineer, if you will.
Thank you.
Commissioner Skolnick?
Marty, that, I thought the original plan, I remember when we started talking about this, we were talking about a whole new, that building is old.
It is. That's the ultimate desire, is to move it. We haven't been successful in acquiring the funding to do so.
So this is the best we can do.
This is the best we can do now. It makes it suitable for current use, and we will still continue to try to relocate the station. But until that time, at least now we can use it and fit the fire truck inside.
Are there any further questions? Marty, before you take your seat, I would like for you to just give us a little information on the towers at the airport. I think it'll only take a few minutes, but then the commissioners will know what's going on.
Sure, absolutely. There's been a lot of talk about sequestration and the FAA and control towers and TSA staffing. I'll preface it by saying the county, where we haven't received any notification from the FAA regarding our control tower. So everything that I know is through industry peers and actually a lot of what I've read in the media, to be honest with you. But what we do know is that the FAA has compiled a list of towers that could be closed because of sequestration. The FAA needs to cut $60 million from their budget, which is about 4% of their annual, $16 billion that their annual budget is. So what they have done is sent notification to 173 towers in the country, and those are contract towers. What contract towers are, those are towers that are staffed by contractors. They're air traffic controllers, just like FAA people, but they're contracted, And the program started, the contract tower program started back in the 1980s, early 80s, as a cost-saving measure. The contract towers operate cheaper, and they provide a service to smaller airports. But these 173 towers, the FAA can end now quickly to save a lot of the money that they need to. There's another 16 contract towers that are slated to close on September 30th. The anticipation is that there's a remaining 49 airports or towers that are FAA staffed. Muskegon is one of those. Being an FAA staffed tower and a union tower, it takes a little bit longer to actually close the tower. So the anticipation is that they're going to enter into contract negotiations on how that process will take place. And I would anticipate we would hear something from the FAA here in the next week or so as to whether or not our tower is on that list of potential closures. We would also, I'd expect, be afforded an opportunity to defend our tower and its necessity here. The other 173 that received letters had that opportunity. We would too. And each airport or tower is trying to justify that tower's existence. But the FAA's requirement is that you have to justify it on a national level. And that makes it a little more difficult. I mean, it's easy to justify the tower on a local level and even a regional level, but we have to look at it on a national scale. So that's where we're at now. No official notification from the FAA. 173 are targeted for closure on April 7th. The deadline for the FAA's decision on those 173 is tomorrow. So I'm very curious after tomorrow to find out what the decision is on those 173. But again, put it back into perspective with what I started with, and that the FAA has to cut 4% of their budget. So this is a very significant isolated cut to get to that 4%. And I think we can certainly find suggestions on each tower or each FAA facility to meet 4% rather than cutting it all from this one area. But we'll wait to see the notification and certainly be ready for a justification.
Well, thank you very much. You have a question, please?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this, but this contract we have here, this is just for design, correct?
For the fire station, it is just for the design of the station, yes.
So do we plan on building this? Are we actually going to build this?
The idea is to get through a design phase, and once we design it and have the bid specifications developed, it'll be led through MDOT Aeronautics. When the bids come back, then we'll bring back the construction contract.
We have funding already for the construction?
Yes, it's all part of our fiscal year 13 budget.
Mr. Skolnick?
Marty, just curious, if the tower is closed, there's no difficulty landing airplanes. It would be controlled from Grand Rapids or Kalamazoo or someplace?
What would happen is we would become an uncontrolled airport, which is exactly what we are at night right now. From 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., the tower's already closed. So we become uncontrolled. So pilots announce their intentions over a Unicom frequency. So if you're coming in to land, you would announce whatever your aircraft is, 5 miles out, landing runway 32. You say your position, everybody knows where you're at. So it's open mic is what it is. So that's just how we would operate during the
So
daytime.
SkyWest is okay, that's a normal way of operating?
SkyWest operates in uncontrolled airports now. Our charter flights, same thing. We've had scheduled air service after 11 p.m. When the tower's closed, they land without a problem. So we will still operate. It won't be any less safe, I don't think.
Does the tower watch things on the ground too? I mean, so planes don't?
They do. They control traffic visually within 5 miles, and then they also control traffic on the ground. So once you land, they get you to your apron area, so they control all of that traffic.
So they would just do that by themselves? Just be careful.
I heard there were some issues with winter landings. Is that correct, or is that just a rumor?
Well, one of the points of the justification to keep the tower is just that. We have runway 1432, which is our north-south runway. And that was the runway that the county extended, did a lot of work on, spent millions of dollars extending that runway over the last 10 years. When we do not have a control tower, when the tower is closed, that runway also has to be closed because we have a visual zone issue. So at nighttime from 11 p.m., the north-south runway is not available. If the tower is closed 24 hours, that runway is also closed 24 hours. So the first point of that justification to keep the towers open, why did we spend, or why did you spend $10, $20 million to extend a runway, and now you're telling us to close it?
Commissioner Nash?
Now, wasn't there, I thought there was supposed to be some assistance with the regional towers that would help with that. But that doesn't help with the visual aspect, I guess.
It really doesn't. There's other portions, it's called TRACON, Terminal Radar Approach Control. And if you think of the movies, you see people sitting in a basement, the scope, that's TRACON. That can be handled remotely. So that service could be handled from Kalamazoo, even. It doesn't really matter where they're at. And so, yeah, it's the visual part of it and then the ground control that would be a big impact.
Commissioner Hughes?
Do we have any of the people that lease space from us at the airport that have to have that bigger tower or that bigger airstrip to land on?
No, we don't, only
Okay.
because that runway is actually the shorter of our two runways.
Oh, okay, okay.
Are there any more questions? All right, thank you, Marty. And all in favor of the motion signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed? The motion is carried. We'll move on to item number 7, old business. Commissioner Cross.
I got a couple questions. One I guess would be old and one would be new, and this for Mr. Coons. Maybe I just missed it, but where are we at with the new bus terminal? That would be my old question. And then my new question is, since I noticed and read in the, or didn't even read it, I seen it the other day, how much impact is this Walmart bus having on the MATS bus system?
Old question first, and this question is not more old for anybody than me. We are continue to await approval from the Federal Transit Administration for the environmental documentation on our transit center reconstruction. That is right around the corner, I've been told. As soon as we have that, we can move to the next steps, which would be property acquisition, architecture and engineering, and moving forward in that way.
So as of right now, we still haven't even really inquired on that piece of additional property that we needed for that?
We continue to let the landowners know we're interested, but according to Federal Transit, we cannot begin negotiations until they have given us this document.
Okay.
On the new business question, so to speak, if you're not aware, the Walmart Corporation has chosen to operate a bus along some of the streets in our community, transporting folks from various apartment complexes, senior centers, high-rises, etc., to the Walmart stores in town. They are doing this on their own accord. Bob has had an opportunity to speak with the store manager just to get a little bit of information. At this point, as I understand it, they are just testing the waters and just doing this as a pilot program, so to speak, to generate some business for their stores. I understand anecdotally that it doesn't have a lot of ridership, but I haven't had any figures or analysis of it.
Do you know if they're, I heard they're free, I don't know if they're free or not.
They're free.
They're doing this at no charge. Of course, their interest is in getting people's business to their stores, particularly now, I presume, at tax return time.
Right. Okay.
Commissioner Nash?
Mr. Coons, that's interesting. Mr. Coons, I was wondering how have we taken a look at possibility, well, I'd like to see us at least study or take a look at the possibility of getting our buses started maybe an hour earlier in the mornings. I've had a lot of constituents and people in the community that get started early in the morning. And their concern is sometimes what time does the bus start? And I'm just thinking that even if we had an extra hour in the morning, I think we would probably still get that same early morning ridership that we're looking for. But I do know some people, when it comes to work or it comes to appointments or wherever they got to go, sometimes that's a concern, and they have to go and they have to check and they have to make sure that they can get it early enough to get where they need to go. And some people, have to be to work at 7, and they're concerned that they can't get on the bus early enough to be able to get where they need to go. So I just wanted us to at least take a look at that and see if possibly we could still be, revenue-wise, not hurting ourselves, but looking at early hour in the morning.
Certainly take a look at it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, I got one last question.
Commissioner
Sorry.
Cross?
Did they have to obtain some certain special permit to do that? I mean, are they like a taxi? I mean, what, I don't know, I mean, can I just go buy a bus and start running around town if I want?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Really?
I was at the FEMA meeting last week, and all of these service units were there. They seemed to be real excited, and they said, well, maybe the Myers will start a bus too, because they don't have to pay, and they just get on the bus and go.
If I may just answer your question, if you were to want to operate a bus on the streets and charge people, then you begin to get into Michigan motor bus laws. But as, I guess if you're providing it free, that clause wouldn't cover you.
If I could just comment on that, I had not heard of that until just now.
I didn't either.
And
Have you seen it?
I have not seen
No,
it.
it
blue,
looks
white,
exactly
yellow,
like
like a man's
our
bus.
man's bus.
Yeah,
It
but
just
it's got a
says
tire on the
Walmart
front.
on it.
I think that's a genius.
It does.
Whoever thought of that? That is a spectacular idea. If you're the store owner, I can't believe somebody's doing that. It's too good to be true. If you're, if you own the store, then
Yeah,
I know it's
and
bad for
the
us, but-
schedule is they take you there and they don't take you back for about 2.5 to 3 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
it's free.
And they'll probably let you take a plasma TV home with you.
They need to see the
Are there any further questions or comments?
If you're right.
But it's just, just on a comment on that, it's just sort of, I think, sort of profiling individuals because it only does service the downtown area in Muskegon Heights that I know of. And I've been told that by people that live in them two areas, so.
I think that they're going to senior complexes too, because I was at FEMA's meeting and these organizations were there, and that's when they were talking about, is Myers get a bus like this, I don't know.
Excuse me, if I could just make a comment. I did talk to the store manager, and he said, well, you take buses to the competition, which is Meyer. And I said, well, there's a bus Matt's bus that stops right in front of the Walmart too. We stop at both Walmarts and both Meyers in both locations. So then it was kind of hemming and hawing. So, and those buses follow me around, I'm not kidding. I've seen them about 3 times, 4 times.
Over on the buses. Commissioner Engel?
It's gonna sound good because it's free, and once they find out they can't come back when they want to
Yeah.
come back, it's not gonna be nearly as much fun.
Right.
They can always get on a Matt's bus and go back.
Yeah.
Sounds a good deal.
We'll move on to new business. Is there any new business? We'll move on, hearing none, move on to public comment on a new topic. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. We are